On a Wednesday evening at 6:00 p.m., the sidewalks of Las Vegas Boulevard should be buzzing, but instead they're eerily empty. No tourists spilling from casinos, no long lines outside world-class restaurants, only neon lights flickering over deserted pavement. For a city once called the entertainment capital of the world, that silence isn't just unusual, it's a warning. Behind the glitter, thousands of families already know what it means the Vegas dream has collapsed. For decades, people moved here chasing sunshine, no state income tax, and the promise of affordable homes. But in 2025, that dream has twisted into a financial and emotional nightmare. Families are breaking leases, selling houses, and leaving in record numbers. Why? Because life in Las Vegas has become brutally expensive, dangerously hot, and increasingly unstable. Residents face $700 summer power bills, $485,000 median home prices, failing schools, and a crime rate that leaves parents questioning their kids' safety. The city that once marketed freedom now feels like a trap. Tonight, we uncover the 9 brutal reasons thousands are fleeing Las Vegas, reveal where they're going instead, and show the survival strategies of those who dare to stay. Watch closely because the truth behind Sin City in 2025 might change the way you see Las Vegas forever. For decades, Las Vegas sold itself as the ultimate American dream in the desert. The pitch was simple, endless sunshine, no state income tax, cheap homes, and a lifestyle built on entertainment and opportunity. Families from California, retirees from the Midwest, and professionals from across the country packed up and moved in, convinced they had found a financial and personal jackpot. But in 2025, that promise has unraveled. The dream of living in Las Vegas hasn't just faded, it has collapsed. What newcomers discover is a reality harsher than the desert heat itself. The same house that cost $118,000 in 2012 now sells for nearly $485,000. Power bills that once seemed manageable now spike to $700 a month in the summer. Clark County schools, among the largest in the nation, rank near the bottom in quality, forcing parents into impossible choices between poor education or $25,000 private tuition bills. Add to that rising crime, the relentless 115-degree summers, and the constant fear of another economic crash tied to the Strip, and it's no surprise that thousands are fleeing. In this video, we'll uncover the 9 brutal reasons people are leaving Las Vegas, explore the cities they're moving to instead, and reveal the strategies locals use to survive when escape isn't an option. By the end, you'll see why so many residents are saying enough is enough, and why the very dream that built Las Vegas is now driving people away. For many newcomers, the breaking point isn't money at all, it's the climate. Moving to Las Vegas in the spring feels like paradise. The skies are crystal blue, the air is a perfect 75-degree Alv, and every day feels like a postcard. Families from California or Chicago wonder why they didn't make the move years earlier. But by July, the illusion shatters. Step outside and it feels like opening the door to an oven set at 115-degree Frau. The sidewalk burns through your shoes, steering wheels heat up like molten metal, and even a short walk for your dog risks heat stroke. This isn't just hot, it's dangerous. Statistics back up the fear. Las Vegas now reports more heat-related emergencies than nearly any other US city, rivaled only by Phoenix, Arizona. Elderly retirees, a growing share of the population, are especially vulnerable, but young families suffer too. The relentless heat means higher medical risks, fewer outdoor activities, and much higher costs. Running the air conditioner non-stop isn't a luxury, it's survival. Residents regularly face $400, $700 monthly power bills during the summer. That's an extra $2,000, $3,000 a year just to stay alive indoors. For households already straining under rising housing costs, this is the tipping point. But the problem doesn't stop at heat. Southern Nevada sits at the center of the worst drought in modern history. Lake Mead, the region's lifeline, has dropped to its lowest level since the 1930s. The massive bathtub rings along its cliffs aren't just a striking visual, they're a warning that the system is on the edge. A Officials stress that Las Vegas actually uses less water today than it did 20 years ago, despite adding nearly 500,000 residents thanks to recycling and conservation. On paper, that sounds impressive. But for families watching their lawns ripped out, fountains banned, and pools restricted, it feels like life is being chipped away. The psychological toll is real. Parents look at the shrinking lake and ask, will there be enough water for our kids in 20 years? Homebuyers wonder if their investments will hold value in a city where the future of water feels so uncertain. Climate change only deepens those doubts. Rising heat means faster evaporation, thinner snowpacks feeding the Colorado River, and a creeping sense that no amount of conservation can fully solve the crisis. For many, the combination of triple-digit heat and drought anxiety is enough to pack their bags. It's not just about comfort, it's about survival and long-term security. In a city famous for gambling, residents realize they're gambling with nature itself, and that's a bet many are no longer willing to take. Ask nearly any parent why they left Las Vegas, and the answer often comes with Acai schools. For families, education isn't just another factor, it's the deal breaker. On paper, the Clark County School District CCSD sounds impressive. With more than 300,000 students, it's the fifth largest school district in the United States, but size hasn't translated into quality. In a recent national ranking of the 50 largest metropolitan areas, Las Vegas placed second to last in overall school performance. That statistic alone sends families scrambling for alternatives. The problems are easy to see. Overcrowded classrooms stretch teachers to their limits, leaving students without the individual attention they need. Underfunded programs mean fewer resources, outdated textbooks, and limited extracurricular options. Parents who relocate from states like Colorado, Massachusetts, or even Texas are often shocked at the difference. What they considered basic support in their former schools feels absent here. Since the pandemic, the situation has worsened. Reports of school violence and behavioral issues have spiked. Teachers describe hallways where discipline is a daily battle, and parents worry about both learning outcomes and safety. For many, the district feels like a system designed to push kids through the pipeline rather than prepare them for the future. Some families turn to private schools as an escape hatch, but the price is staggering. Annual tuition runs between $15,000 and $25,000 per child. For a household with 2 children, that means nearly $50,000 a year on top of an already crushing $3,000 monthly mortgage or rent. For middle-class families, that math simply doesn't work. Education becomes the breaking point. The frustration is compounded by contrast. In wealthy zip codes like Summerlin or Henderson, schools perform significantly better. But buying into those neighborhoods means paying inflated housing costs, which most families can't afford. For the majority, the options are limited: stay in underperforming public schools or shoulder impossible private tuition bills. It doesn't help that Nevada consistently ranks among the worst-funded states for public education. Parents feel abandoned, believing their children's futures are being sacrificed in a city more focused on casinos than classrooms. And once education becomes part of the equation, the decision is rarely complicated. Families may tolerate $700 power bills and even a shaky job market, but when they believe their kids' futures are at stake, they choose to leave. That's why schools have become one of the most decisive forces in the Las Vegas exodus. The dream of sunshine and tax breaks cannot compete with the fear of a child left behind. For many, the dream of moving to Las Vegas centers on one thing: owning a home. For decades, the city was known as one of the few metros in America where an average family could still buy a house without going broke. But in 2025, that dream has evaporated. The same 3-bedroom home that sold for about $118,000 in 2012 now costs nearly $485,000. That's a staggering 300% increase in just over a decade, and it has pushed homeownership out of reach for most local families. The numbers are brutal. With mortgage rates hovering near 7%, that $485,000 home translates to a monthly payment of roughly $2,170 before taxes and insurance. Add in HOA fees, property taxes, and homeowners insurance, and the true cost often exceeds $3,200 a month. To afford that comfortably, experts say you need an annual income above $115,000. But the median household income in Las Vegas sits at only $72,000. That gap leaves families staring at an impossible equation. Renters don't have it much better. A standard two-bedroom apartment that cost $200 a month just a few years ago now averages $2,000 or more. More than half of Nevada renters are classified as cost-burdened, meaning over 35% of their income goes directly to rent. For working-class families, that isn't just unsustainable, it's crushing. Competition adds fuel to the fire. Out-of-state investors, especially from California, sweep into the market with cash offers tens of thousands above asking price. Local families who rely on financing simply can't compete. The result is a housing market that feels more like a casino game one, where ordinary residents are destined to lose. At the same time, supply isn't keeping up. State officials estimate that 7,000 new apartments need to be built every year just to meet demand. But Las Vegas isn't close to hitting that target. With construction lagging, the squeeze only tightens. Families who thought moving to the desert would bring financial relief instead discover they're paying coastal prices without coastal perks. For newcomers, the shock is jarring. They expected affordability, but instead find themselves locked into a market as punishing as Los Angeles or San Francisco. Locals sum it up in one bitter line: Vegas has become California without the ocean. The explosion in housing costs has become one of the most powerful drivers of the exodus. Families who could have tolerated the heat, the power bills, or even the school system finally hit their breaking point when they realize they can't secure stable housing. Without a roof, they can afford the so-called Vegas dream collapses. When people plan a move to Las Vegas, they usually account for the big expenses: a mortgage, rent, maybe those massive $700 summer power bills. But what blindsides many newcomers are the dozens of smaller costs that quietly stack up until they drain a family's budget. These hidden everyday costs often turn the Vegas dream into a nightmare. Start with cars. The desert is brutal on vehicles. Tires that should last 60,000 miles often wear out in just 3 summers. Dashboards crack, paint fades, and air conditioners run at maximum capacity for months at a time. Most locals admit they budget an extra $1,500 every year just for maintenance, because breaking down on I-15 in 118 degrees south heat isn't just inconvenient, it's dangerous. Then there's lifestyle creep. Las Vegas isn't just a city, it's the entertainment capital of the world. Residents are surrounded by temptation headline concerts, celebrity chef restaurants, Cirque du Soleil shows, and bars that never close. Many newcomers tell themselves, we'll just splurge this once, but once becomes twice, and before long, families are spending an extra $500, $800 a month on dining, shows, and nightlife. And of course, the elephant in the room: gambling. Not everyone falls into the trap, but the constant exposure wears people down. Slot machines sit in grocery stores, gas stations, and neighborhood bars. The Strip itself is a non-stop invitation to risk it all. For those even slightly vulnerable, the easy access can devastate both budgets and marriages. There's also an emotional cost. With so many people constantly moving in and out, Las Vegas can feel rootless. Neighbors change, often friendships are harder to maintain, and schedules tied to hospitality jobs make community bonds fragile. For families used to stable networks back home, the sense of isolation is crushing. Add it all together, and the affordable lifestyle that lured newcomers quickly unravels. By the time residents realize they're bleeding money through car repairs, entertainment, gambling temptations, and creeping expenses, the damage is already done. For many, that's when they start packing. The neon lights of the Las Vegas Strip sparkle for tourists, but for residents, daily life tells a different story. Safety has become one of the quiet but decisive reasons families choose to leave. Statistically, Las Vegas ranks only in the 35th percentile for safety, which means 65% of American cities are safer. That number alone rattles parents and retirees who moved here expecting suburban calm. Property crime is rampant. Stories of shattered car windows, stolen catalytic converters, and packages disappearing from porches are so common they've become almost routine. Even in neighborhoods marketed as safe, residents still invest in alarm systems, surveillance cameras, and reinforced doors just to feel secure. Those extra costs add financial strain, but the bigger toll is psychological. Violent crime also looms. Certain areas are more affected, but incidents spill into communities many newcomers assumed were insulated. Parents feel it most sharply when it comes to schools. Since the pandemic, reports of fights and school violence in Clark County School District have spiked. Families who came for opportunity now find themselves weighing whether their children are truly safe inside classrooms. For newcomers from smaller towns, the culture shock is severe. They arrive expecting suburban peace only to face big city crime patterns in the desert. Even longtime residents admit they avoid walking after dark in certain areas. The idea that you can't fully relax in your own neighborhood pushes families to reconsider their decision to stay. Metro Police and neighborhood watch programs work hard, but the sheer size of the valley makes it impossible to erase crime completely. And for many families, the issue isn't just about statistics, it's about peace of mind. When that sense of safety slips away, no amount of tax-saving sunshine or entertainment can make up for it. As one resident put it bluntly, Vegas is fun for a weekend, but living here means sleeping with one eye open. That feeling is driving more and more families to search for communities where security isn't a gamble. For decades, Las Vegas has been marketed as a land of opportunity, a place where anyone with ambition could find steady work. But beneath the flashing lights, the city's economy has always rested on a fragile foundation: tourism and hospitality. When times are good, jobs are everywhere. But when times turn bad, the collapse is swift and devastating, and that instability is pushing thousands of residents out. The pandemic of 2020 was a brutal reminder. When the Strip shut down, Las Vegas suffered one of the highest unemployment spikes in the nation, peaking near 34% joblessness. Entire casinos went dark, restaurants shuttered, and tens of thousands of workers were suddenly without income. Even though employment numbers have rebounded, scars remain. Workers in hotels, casinos, and restaurants live with the constant fear that another global shock, recession, or even a shift in tourism trends could wipe out their livelihoods overnight. Diversification efforts exist, but they're slow. Companies like Amazon, Tesla, and SpaceX have invested in Nevada, and logistics hubs are growing. Yet these industries cannot match the massive scale of hospitality and gaming, which still dominate the workforce. For every high-paying tech or logistics job created, there are dozens of service positions offering modest wages and limited security. The mismatch between wages and costs is glaring. To comfortably afford the median-priced home of $485,000 a household needs an income above $115,000. But the median household income in Las Vegas hovers around $72,000. That gap leaves even full-time workers struggling. Many take on multiple jobs or rely on tips, but that unpredictability makes long-term planning nearly impossible. Benefits are another issue. Service industry jobs may offer cash flow, but they rarely provide robust health insurance, retirement plans, or stability. Families trying to raise children or save for the future face constant stress. One layoff, one downturn can undo years of effort. For many, living in a city where the economy itself feels like a gamble is too much risk. The result is an exodus of families who decide their futures are safer elsewhere. Smaller metros with more balanced economies, places where a downturn in one sector doesn't mean total collapse, suddenly look far more appealing. As one former casino worker explained, Vegas taught me how fragile life can be. I couldn't bet my family's future on tips and tourists anymore. In the end, the same industry that built Las Vegas now drives people away. Its glittering promise of endless opportunity hides a hard truth. Stability is rare, and volatility is guaranteed. And for thousands of residents, that's a gamble they no longer want to play. For decades, the promise of no state income tax has been one of the strongest selling points for moving to Las Vegas. Billboards, relocation ads, and word of mouth all painted Nevada as a tax haven. But by 2025, many residents are realizing the bitter truth. Even without income tax, the hidden costs of ownership in Las Vegas are spiraling out of control. Start with property taxes. While Nevada's rate is modest compared to other states, the problem is the soaring home values. When the median price sits at $485,000, annual tax bills quickly become burdensome. On top of that, nearly every neighborhood comes with HOA fees. Some associations charge hundreds of dollars each month for landscaping rules, pool upkeep, or even fines for minor violations. Families already struggling to cover a $3,200 mortgage find these fees unbearable. Insurance is another growing burden. The desert's extreme conditions, 115-degree summers, flash floods, and wildfire risks have steadily driven premiums upward. While it hasn't yet reached the crisis levels seen in Florida or California, locals are watching their home and auto insurance bills climb every year. In fact, Nevada consistently ranks among the highest states for auto insurance premiums nationwide. Utilities pile on further. Air conditioning alone can cost $400–700 per month during the summer. Water bills, once negligible, are rising as drought restrictions tighten. Even garbage and sewer fees are creeping higher as the city struggles to maintain infrastructure for 2.3 million residents. The biggest problem isn't just the size of the bills, it's the unpredictability. Families move to Las Vegas expecting stability, only to discover that every year brings new costs they didn't budget for. Retirees on fixed incomes watch their savings erode. Young couples trying to build a future find their financial plans constantly derailed. The irony couldn't be sharper. A city marketed as a tax haven now feels like a place where ownership itself has become a trap. And when the math doesn't add up, many residents decide it's time to leave the desert behind. Beyond the money, beyond the heat, and beyond the jobs, there is another factor that quietly drives people out of Las Vegas: the lack of community roots. For many families, this ends up being the most personal and painful reason to leave. Las Vegas was built for visitors, not residents. The city thrives on a constant churn of tourists, convention goers, and short-term workers. That same transient energy spills into neighborhoods. Apartments flip tenants every year, neighbors move in and out, and families who arrive chasing sunshine or tax breaks often disappear within a few years once the reality sets in. For those trying to build lasting friendships or a sense of belonging, the treadmill never stops. Newcomers expect the glittering social scene of Las Vegas to mean a vibrant local culture. Instead, they often find the opposite. Unless you're immersed in nightlife or gambling, the city can feel strangely isolating. Parents complain about the lack of family-friendly activities compared to other metro areas. Outdoor escapes like Red Rock Canyon and Mount Charleston exist, but daily life for most still revolves around the casinos and the Strip. The work culture makes things harder. With so many residents tied to hospitality jobs on unpredictable schedules, late nights, weekends, rotating shifts, building and maintaining relationships becomes a struggle. Friendships often feel temporary, and many describe life in Las Vegas as transactional rather than relational. The irony is striking. Even with over 2.3 million residents, many say Las Vegas feels lonelier than small towns with a fraction of the population. The city's rapid growth hasn't been matched with libraries, cultural centers, or traditions that bind communities together. Without that glue, residents never feel fully at home. In the end, after the bills, after the summers, after the struggle with schools and jobs, what finally pushes people to leave is the realization that they simply don't belong. and no amount of neon lights or shrimp buffets can replace the comfort of true community. Despite the rising costs and challenges, people are still moving to Las Vegas, and for some, the city continues to deliver exactly what they're looking for. The most obvious draw remains the absence of a state income tax. For high earners, business owners, and retirees with substantial pensions, that advantage can mean tens of thousands of dollars in annual savings compared to living in California or New York. Then there are the neighborhoods that stand apart. Areas like Summerlin and Henderson offer stronger schools, lower crime rates, and carefully planned communities. For families who can afford the premium, these zip codes provide the stability that much of the valley lacks. Buying in these areas isn't cheap, but residents describe them as an oasis within the desert, proof that parts of Las Vegas still live up to the dream. Lifestyle also plays a role. Outdoor lovers value quick access to Red Rock Canyon, Lake Mead, and Mount Charleston, where hiking, boating, and even skiing are within an hour's drive. Professionals in entertainment, culinary arts, and hospitality find opportunities here that don't exist anywhere else at the same scale. Meanwhile, some logistics and tech workers benefit from the slow but steady diversification driven by companies like Amazon and Tesla. For young singles, the nightlife is less a trap and more an attraction. Living where the world comes to play has its own allure. And compared to housing in Los Angeles or San Francisco, even a $2,000 Vegas apartment can look like a bargain. In short, Las Vegas still works for certain people, those with higher incomes, flexible lifestyles, or careers tied directly to the Strip. But for everyone else, the city's harsh realities outweigh the perks. When families finally decide to leave Las Vegas, the question becomes, where do they go? The answer often depends on what they value most: affordability, stability, or better schools. A popular choice just 2 hours north is St. George, Utah. With lower housing costs, a slower pace, and a strong sense of community, it appeals to families seeking security without moving too far from Nevada. Others head to Boise, Idaho, which has exploded in popularity thanks to its affordable homes and growing job market. For those chasing big city opportunities, San Antonio and Austin, Texas, have become magnets. Both cities offer cheaper housing than Las Vegas, stronger school systems, and a more diversified economy that doesn't rise and fall with tourism. On the East Coast, many choose Raleigh, North Carolina, where tech and finance jobs blend with suburban neighborhoods that feel far more family-oriented. Some seek the sun in a different way, moving to Tampa or Orlando, Florida. They trade desert heat for humidity, but gain access to beaches, entertainment, and family-friendly suburbs. And yes, a portion of former Vegas residents simply return to California, accepting higher taxes in exchange for better schools and the comfort of existing networks. The pattern is clear. People leaving Las Vegas aren't chasing glamour, they're chasing stability. Whether in Utah, Texas, or North Carolina, they're looking for communities where the cost of living makes sense and the future feels secure. Not everyone who struggles in Las Vegas decides to leave. Some families adapt, and for them, survival isn't about luck, it's about strategy. The first step is tackling the $400, $700 summer power bills. Locals invest in solar panels, install ceramic window tint, and schedule heavy appliance use during off-peak hours. These adjustments can shave hundreds of dollars a year off energy costs and make the brutal 115-degree Creve summers slightly more manageable. Choosing the right neighborhood also makes a difference. Families often rent for 12 months before buying, giving themselves time to evaluate HOA fees, insurance costs, and community dynamics. Crime maps and school performance reports help them avoid the most challenging areas. Parents also turn to charter or magnet schools, finding options that offer better outcomes without the crushing $25,000 private tuition bills. Budgeting is another survival skill. Longtime residents set strict fund budgets, limiting casino visits, shows, and fine dining to a fixed monthly amount. This prevents the slow bleed of lifestyle creep that surprises newcomers. On the transportation side, investing in fuel-efficient vehicles, used EVs, or simply upgrading to heat-resistant tires reduces the yearly toll the desert takes on cars. Finally, smart buyers request insurance quotes and review HOA bylaws before signing any contract. Knowing upfront whether premiums are rising or monthly HOA dues are excessive can prevent nasty surprises later. The truth is, living in Las Vegas can still work, but only for those who plan, adapt, and prepare. Without these strategies, the desert doesn't just drain your wallet, it drains your will to stay. At its core, the story of Las Vegas in 2025 is one of broken promises. The dream of cheap homes, endless sunshine, and financial freedom has crumbled under the weight of $485,000 housing prices, $700 power bills, underfunded schools, and a lifestyle that feels more like a gamble than a guarantee. For some, the tax breaks and glittering lights are still enough. But for thousands of others, the calculation has changed and they're leaving in droves. The question is, what about you? Would you bet your family's future on a city built on volatility, or would you walk away while you still can? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe the Vegas dream is dead, or just evolving into something new? If you found this breakdown eye-opening, hit like, tap subscribe, and join us as we uncover the hidden truths shaping America's cities. Because sometimes the biggest story isn't on the strip, it's in the lives of the people trying to survive beyond it.